those things are survival skills when you were a little girl, right? And as you've gotten older, you're able to look at the things that don't serve you anymore and try to move those out the way, but there's still survival skills that serve you really well today. And it's turning them into positives so that no matter what has happened, you're able to take the benefit from it and discard the piece that is still wounding you.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I realized as there was a point where there was a toughness and a strength that I had, this kind of armor that I always used to kind of look at like an invisible Iron Man suit that I could almost just put on automatic. I didn't even think about it. It would just do it, and it would be like, and I could just move about, and nobody would know what was really going on inside. And I feel like it took so much to break me down for me to really get to this place that I'm at now. So it's like that very toughness that got me through so much of my life that I'm so grateful for, but it almost killed me. It literally almost killed me because I just didn't give up. I didn't know when to give up. And
because you weren't feeling, right? Because if we lock ourselves off, nothing can get in, but nothing can get out. So, surrender. What does that mean to you?
Well, I think surrender is certainly not giving up. I think, and to me, essence sounded better than acceptance, which really, I think surrender for me was just, it was just a letting go and an acceptance, and it was just stopping that all the things that I thought I should have been, reaching for and going for, and they weren't working. And, I realized that everything that had occurred all reflected one thing, which was a lack of value of self. And I had to get underneath, and without surrendering, like it just wasn't working anymore. And I practically had to lose everything that mattered to me, to strip me down, to be willing to let go of the illusion of control that I thought I had, of making things happen. And now I feel great. I'm just in the flow.
You sound very relieved to be able to have let go of managing and controlling everything.
Yes. It's exhausting. It is. And we think that, we're really, first of all, we don't control anything. It really is an illusion. And the more I just am in that alignment and in the flow and trusting, it's not that you don't have a sense of what you'd like or where you'd like to go or what you want to do or create. It's just trusting that if it's not working, that there's something better, and following the signs, letting it lead you. It's like the difference of trying to swim upstream instead of flowing with it. And when we do that, I think it rewards us with really more of what we're looking for than when we were trying to make it happen.
It's interesting because when I listen to you talk, I feel what you're talking about is, could be put under the banner of some kind of a spiritual practice, whatever that is for anybody. But as long as I've known you, you've always had some kind of spiritual practice, whether it was an external one that I was very aware of, or whether it was an internal, quieter, personal practice. So I feel like a practice and a searching and a deep connection with something other than yourself has been in your life for a long time.
Definitely.
And I'm assuming it has changed over time, right?
Yeah, I think I don't have anything formal. I've always been curious and a seeker. I have You know, even as a kid, I was always asking to go to different churches, and I wanted to try to understand, and it was only as I became an adult that and had a little bit more awareness about spirituality that I realized, that's what church was supposed to be, because I had gotten the impression that church was a place that you went to be yelled at. And and
Wow.
but what I've come to, you know, that works for me now is an understanding that, like, we live at a time with like a buffet of possibilities. You know, there's so many things that we could choose from to find to work. And what I love is finding truth, and truth is truth. We don't have to believe it, we just know it. When we encounter it, we know it. It's like something like you just go,
It's visceral.
You go, oh yeah. It just, there's no like effort to it. And so, and I've also, you know, come to understand for myself that it's with me wherever I am. And if you know, but so is the importance of community. So I understand, you know, how something that's organized can be very uplifting, because we're a communal species. Our nature, we are here to share. And you know, it's why I wanted to take the risk of doing this and sharing my story, the things that, you know, are very personal and really messy.
It's
because
messy.
We are messy, and bring it to some kind of clarity. I don't even feel like, you know, yes, I'm doing book tours, I'm here, but for me, my intention is about connection, not promotion. There's a lot, like if I just wanted to promote myself, believe me, there's a lot easier ways to do that. And I really am feeling so, I don't know, I keep saying it, grateful. I have a lot of gratitude at how this has been received. And I know that there's some sensitive areas. There were sensitive things even for my daughters, because I share about a very painful time in our life together that led to them not talking to me, with a lot of misunderstanding. And I allowed them to read the book before and ask if there was anything they felt, you know, that they wanted me to take out. And in the end, they didn't ask for me to take anything out, but their knee-jerk was a fear, like, will they not look good, or will people judge them? And, you know, sometimes it's remembering that what's my story and what's someone else's to tell. And sometimes that's leaving out the context of perhaps where someone else's pain is coming from, or the choices that they're making. And I don't know where I was going with all this, but
well, what I want to say also about your daughters is Tallulah the other night said something really profound, and she said that through reading this book, she met her mother.
yeah.
I mean, that when I heard her say that, I mean, what an incredible thing for her to feel, you know, that the level of intimacy that you shared within your stories resonated to the point that your daughter felt like she met you in a new way, and you know, I mean, that is profound.
And it has been. I mean, I think, you know, there was a point when I was in the editing process with the book, just in talking about my children, is there was a point where I recognized I had kind of distanced my mother and we were quite estranged. And then I was looking at a piece in the book, and I realized there was a point where I decided who she was. And in some ways, that made it so that she couldn't be anyone else to me. That was it. And I had such sadness come up, because I felt like I'd lost my humanity. I'd lost my compassion in a certain way. And I realized, how can I expect my children to have compassion for me when I had lost it I'd lost that from my own mother. And it really, it's like one of the gifts that this has done for me, which is it brought also a whole other layer of healing, not just for me, but for my daughters.
How so?
I think it cleared, it's like that, I think in that same way that as a parent I can strive to want my children to love themselves, to give them a different life, certainly than I had, and give them the support and the guidance and all of those things that I was left without, so that they will feel confident and love themselves. But the reality is, until I can love myself, they're not going to be able to fully love themselves. And that's what I mean about like recognizing that how I relate to my mother is how my children will end up relating.
Yes, you're teaching them
to
how
me.
to relate to you.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
and I feel like part of the journey in the book is a lot about our familial patterns, like recognizing that I took on things that were my mother's and she took on things that were her mother's, and I then started to see that I'd passed these things on to my children, and that we now together, my daughters and I, have the opportunity to change that in going forward, which is why I dedicated the book to my mother, my daughters, and their daughters' daughters.
Changing generational patterns, and you're doing it. And all of us can do that. What it takes for us to be willing to do that and to understand how to do that. I sometimes wish that pain was not the cornerstone of growth,
Yeah.
but it is. And that you're actually in motion doing that. That your daughters and their daughters will have, hopefully, a different experience, right?
Definitely. I mean, I feel like that idea that, we're not defined by the events of our lives. They're just events, and
that's real surrender. That is real
that
surrender.
and that we're not, and that I've been doing a study on spiritual psychology, and they look at the idea that we hold a lot as good and bad, right? If I like chocolate, then vanilla's bad.
Right.
But the truth is, it's just still vanilla, and that's still just chocolate. And the only thing that makes it bad or good is how I'm holding it. And
Perception.
And and the idea that I've been exploring in this class is that every disturbance and upset in our life is because of us, not someone else. And nobody is making you upset. Nobody's really responsible. Like, I can prefer it another way.
Yeah.
But I don't have to make something bad. And that too, it's like how I relate to the issue is the issue.
Yes.
And so for me, my journey in this is also about becoming more accountable and responsible for everything that's occurred to me in my life, everything, not just selectively, because I have no desire to be a victim, and I have no desire to have perpetrators. I prefer to choose to see each of those people in my life, the ones even that may be perceived as having wronged me, as divine beings having a human experience, and that we truly all are doing the best we can, and we're all playing a particular role in helping each other. And even those that I feel have hurt me the most have also, it's like our tormentors are our greatest mentors. And if we can hold them in that, then we can hold them in a grace of loving, as opposed to being stuck. Because when you're stuck,
when you're angry and resentful, you're stuck.
You can't do anything about it.
it's freeing. Again, you know, listening to you speak and having, you know, had the blessing of being able to see you through different phases and stages in your life, I hear you talk, and it is from such a place of surrender. It truly is. It is, and reading your book, that book mirrors your life journey so beautifully, and for the last section of your book to be about surrendering and what it took for you to do that, and to see you mirroring the surrender that you've shared in your book, you're living that. It is beautiful to see.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, the title, I just was gonna maybe just think, you know, some people have asked, you know, about Inside Out, and I have always been seeking truth and trying to figure out, because one, I just have always believed we didn't come in here to be punished, that's, you know, that, you know, it's not, there had to be something greater.
Right.
And I always thought that, you know, that it's an inside job. And when I was 23, I had, you know, an opportunity to meet Andy Warhol. And I was just in awe and thought, oh gosh, I hope he likes me. And meanwhile, he wrote in his diaries that he talked me into getting invited to my wedding. But somehow he came to a very small gathering for my 23rd birthday. And he was known for giving these silk screens. And
Yes.
he gave me one, and the image of it was of a kind of Christ Buddha figure sitting in a lotus position with a pyramid and an all-seeing eye. And the words on it said, "The only way out is in."
Mm.
And that has stayed with me as one of those things that I just know to be the truth. And even when I haven't been ready to face truth, I've known that that was the only way that I would ever be set free. And it's an ongoing journey. I am so not there yet. I'm just figuring it out as I go, and relieved that I don't actually have to have it figured out.
Thank you, Andy Warhol. My God. I want to make sure that we have time to answer some questions. So how do we do this? Do we have mics, or how are we doing this?
They were submitted in advance, so I'm going to read the questions.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So Demi, first question is, did you find writing this book therapeutic?
What do you think? Most definitely. Yes.
Out of all your acting roles, which was your favorite to play and why? And which role was the hardest to play and why?
I think one of my most favorites probably would be G.I. Jane. And it may have been the hardest too. Yeah, I think that one sums it up.
How supportive have other Hollywood women been throughout your career?
I would say, you know, I feel like it's hard because I don't feel I haven't been supported. I feel I actually have been quite supported. The difference for me is that I didn't grow up knowing that it was safe to reach out to other women, that it was okay, that I could be needy. And so as my armor has come down, my relationships to other women, my peers, has only elevated.
Would you kindly talk about the directing aspect of your career, and will you be directing more?
What a lovely question.
Yeah.
I've had just a small taste of directing. but I would very much like to explore doing something. What I was able to do was a short form, but I think I would really very much like to find something that would be a full length feature, perhaps. And in truth, I felt almost more comfortable behind the camera than in front of it.
You were very happy behind the
I
camera.
was. I'm very detailed. I have a
Yes,
very
very.
detailed eye, an eye of minutia. So, which can be great and can be also a real pain in the ass.
I can attest to that.
Knowing what you know now, what would you tell your former self on your very first day in Los Angeles?
What would I tell my little self? That you're precious, you're loved, and you never did anything wrong.
A follow-up to that, what would you tell a young actress coming into Hollywood today if she came seeking your advice?
Be the best you that you can, because there is no better you than you. And develop a little bit of thick skin and be ready to face a lot of rejection. And if you really want it, then hang in there.
And our final question for the evening, with your challenging childhood, do you feel you leaned towards certain roles over others through your career? And do you feel these experiences impacted your abilities as an actress?
I write about it in the book a little bit, about particularly as I was dealing with a lot of body issues and how I had certain roles that kept kind of seeming to come my way. And I really believe that I believe that everything is energy, and I feel like there was something that I was desperately needing to personally work through, which is why these roles seemed to be coming to me. So whether I was pulling them towards me or the universe was bringing, but of course everything in your life, you can't really separate it. Like everything, it's like you are your instrument to bring to it. Hope that answers the question.
Amanda, did you want to chime in and do a final question to wrap us up?
I mean, I feel pretty good about what
Okay.
we talked about.